is another episode of the Rewind Podcast. Of course, it's your man Kev Nash. I appreciate everybody checking out last week's episode. We did Mace, Harlem World. Appreciate my boy AP stopping by. He was highly disappointed on re-listening to Harlem World by Mace. Got a lot of positive feedback. Appreciate everybody checking it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe. Go ahead, get some thumbs up. Share it with your peoples that love classic hip-hop. But back again, back for the first time, got some major Outkast fanatics. Got my boy Brian Peanut Hurd representing H-Town / Dayton / Westchester / Cincinnati
/ Trotwood
/ Trotwood. He all over the / Las Vegas / San Diego. That boy global out here. Get familiar. Got my bro Jason J. Corb representing Columbus, Atlanta, Dayton, Central State, Wright State. These boys is global, man. They got a special connection to the Outkast, man. So, fellas, what's up?
What's going on, my brother? Go ahead, BJ. You got it.
Yeah, just trying to stay corona free, you know. got to.
Facts. What about you, Corb? What's going on?
Man, I'm about the same, man. Pretty much been in the house since March. for the most part, trying to get out there on them twos every once in a while.
Yeah.
With the little man on the bike.
You've
been ducking it.
No, I've never ducking. Dude, you know how my miles is on that bike game. I'm official, man. You just let me know where to be and I'll be there.
Got you.
Yeah, man. So I asked both y'all to come on this Outkast Rewind for Southernplayalisticadillacmuzik because obviously, Peanut, you've been an Outkast fan since the day I met you. And Corb, you're an Outkast fan, but not only you're an Outkast fan, you was born in Atlanta, man. So definitely had to get y'all on for this pod, bro.
Thank you, man. Been 20 years rocking with you.
Yeah.
To all those years, man. I appreciate you.
For sure. So, first off, man, what was y'all expecting to hear out of this album when y'all listened to it again so many years later?
You got it.
Go ahead, Corb.
Oh, man, I never stopped listening to the album. All these years, man. I got a tradition when I go on road trips, man. Whenever I'm pulling up to the city, wherever my destination is, I gotta pop some Outkast in, and it's always either this album or the second album, AT-Aliens. So I never stopped listening to it, man. So everything was, everything was still fairly fresh, man, for me.
Okay. What about you?
Wow. Yeah, so I'm more AT-Aliens Aquemini. So, but Southernplayalistic is just the beginning. You know, it's the 4 or 5 album run. You know, so it's always going to be classic. We just need that other half of Mike. You know, so
yeah,
source left it out. You know,
big facts. For me, going back and listening to this album, man, I still listen to like the major hit records off the album, but actually listening to it from track 1 to track 17, I haven't done that in decades. So honestly, I was nervous going back because I remember it being such a classic and remember how much I love the album. Because you gotta think, I just did the rewind with APO with Mace. So I'm like, yo,
that was straight jokes right there.
I was like, yo, this can't happen to probably the best hip hop group of all time. They can't have a whack album like their first album. Like it can't be so dated. It can't be so like I said, dated and just like, yo, I just not like it anymore. Like listening to it from beginning to end. Thank goodness it's still dope. And I think it's even better. I think it's even better now than when it was in 1994.
Oh, without a doubt, man. There's a lot of smooth tracks on there. Features the yin yang, you know, so it's a really collective album from top to bottom. Obviously, you got Organized Noise, introduction to CeeLo, the old CeeLo, you know.
Yeah. Not Gnarls Barkley.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that boy got lyrics for days. So
For sure. So something I like to do, man, I like to run down some of the albums that also came out in 94. So we got Nas Illmatic came out in 94. Master
Yep.
P, The Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me. Warren G, Regulators. Bone Thugs, Creeping on the Come Up. The Brat, Funkified. MC8, We Come Strapped. Biggie dropped his debut album, Ready to Die. Keith Murray, The Most Beautiful Thing in This World. Murder Was the Case soundtrack came out in 94. Redman, There's a Dark Side came out in 94. Even Shaq dropped the album. Return to Shaq Fu dropped in 94, man. So it's a lot of different.
Scarface,
What was that? Untouchable, right?
Diary.
Diary. Okay.
Yep.
Hey,
Scarface.
didn't Gangstar drop something in 94?
Yep.
Method
Yep.
Man. Method Man dropped
Mm-hmm.
something in 94.
Drop that at the cow.
Yeah.
Cal. What's that?
Keith
That just smoking.
Keith Murray dropped something in 94 too, didn't he?
Yeah, Most Beautiful Thing in This World dropped in 94. So it's a lot of music that dropped in 94. But what really makes Southern Playalistic special is it dropped in the same month as Nas Illmatic. And for all the New York love, for all the hip hop heads out there that love Nas and everything like that, that got 5 mics in the source. And Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music did not get 5 mics. So like
Right.
at that time, it can tell you exactly what's going on in the world of hip hop where an album that everybody loves to this day didn't get 5 mics, and we know why, because it was Southern hip hop. It was something different, and that's something about this album that everybody can universally say they never heard something like this before, and basically ever since. Like this sound was new. You talk about Atlanta hip hop scene. There was no Atlanta hip hop scene before
Mm-hmm.
Outkast. I mean, they were signed to LaFace, and LaFace was an R&B label. What they had: TLC, Babyface, of course, Donnell Jones, Usher. Like it was all R&B acts. So like for them to be the first hip hop artist out of Atlanta really to blow up, that's major.
Right. And that was, right around the time Freaknik was popping off. You know, I was way too young to be knowing about Freaknik. So my brother, he actually hit me to Outkast because he went to Morehouse in Georgia Tech down there. So
Okay.
he would come back. He's like, hey, about these boys, Outkast, you got to get on it. So he hit me to it because I was always following my big brother, growing up musically, right? So we're 7 years apart. I'm too young to be listening to anything he's playing.
Right.
NWA, Eric B. and Rakim, Too Short, EPMD, first
Yeah.
tape. I know the first tape I bought, Salem Mall. Shouldn't have been buying no tapes at no Salem Mall DJ Quick.
Whoa.
Right. Like the dirty version. So I'm, 10 years old listening to DJ Quick. I'm like, whoa. Time out. But, I had to listen to whatever Big Bro was listening to. So he hit me to Outkast, and we've been running ever since.
What about you, Corb? How'd you find out about Outkast?
Oh man, at the time, slight correction to something you said earlier. I was actually born in Columbus, Ohio. Gotta
Okay.
get gotta give CO props. But we moved down to Atlanta, before I was even one.
Okay.
So back when this came out, I was in ninth grade around that time. Yeah, that was my ninth grade year,
Yeah.
94. So man, we was pumping. I recall banging this album and that the Brat Funkified. It was just back and forth, back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So man, it was everywhere down there. Especially because we was all down there. So we was getting some of the tracks and the singles and stuff like that a little bit early. You know what I'm saying? But Outkast was a little bit everywhere, man. V103, classic station in Atlanta. And then, I actually lived on this. I grew up on the south side of Atlanta down there. So, down there everywhere on Old National that was selling mixtapes in the flea markets and You know what I'm saying? All the parking lots everywhere. So like he was saying, I remember rolling with some of my older cats in the neighborhood. My guy Pat and Derek. I ain't talked to them dudes in years, probably since, I don't know. It's been a long time, but I just remember Pat was a little bit older, so he had the car, man. So we pile up in his mom's Grand Am, I think it was, man. We just be riding around the neighborhood listening to Outkast.
Yeah, yeah, man. For me, I remember just like most kids that find out about new music, man. You watching Rap City at your boy house all damn day long, watching repeats week after week after week, day after day, day after day. They basically playing the same music over and over. So it's hard for you to break through. It's hard for something new to break through. Like nowadays, a new artist can break through so easily, was so much easier than they could back in the 90s because we had so many other artists out. We had, what I'm saying, it was the Death Row run, and it was the beginning of the Bad Boy run. So for somebody brand new from a region that we don't care nothing about hip hop wise to break through and make waves was big. And the only thing I can remember is I was the first one out my crew to recognize that Players Ball was a Christmas song. I was like, y'all can hear the bells. Like, this is a Christmas song. He's saying it's a beginning to look like he's the beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Like, this is a Christmas song. So this is going on for, I will probably even venture to say a year or two, because we didn't find out LaFace had an actual Christmas album with that song on it until much later. So I remember watching that video on Rap City and like, yo, this is all right, man. So I was really rocking with it back then, man. So, but just listening to it now, like I said before, man, it just sounds so much better. It just sounds, the music, and
it's crisp.
We're going to talk about the production. We're going to talk about everything on here, man. So let's jump into a track by track breakdown if y'all ready.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, man. So track 1, the intro to Peaches. What did y'all think Peaches looked like back in the day?
Too grown for me, boy. I was in junior high when the album came out. So when I started listening to Peaches, I was like, oh, she's kind of sexy, I had no business thinking about no sexy Peaches, but she was dope, man. That's a true introduction to a dope album, So
man, Peaches had to look like an actual Georgia peach. She had to have curves, man. I don't even know what she looked like right now. I'd be curious, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen her, but it had to be like that.
Yeah, man, it's just like one of those classic situations where you allow your imagination as a kid to run wild about what somebody looked like, and like that's like the theater of the mind, like how they talk about with radio and entertainment or whatever. Like your mind can take you wherever if a person presents it that way. But for me, as I'm listening to the intro, she's shouting out all the hoods in Atlanta. And these are places at the time, if you're not from down there, you never even heard of before. The only two places you probably heard of in Atlanta, in Georgia, were Atlanta and Athens because of Georgia football. Like outside of that, if you're not from down there, you had no clue what these places were, what they were about. So, we knew about the Bronx and Queens and, what I'm saying, the neighborhoods that we're from and stuff like that. So it's introducing us to a whole new world, like that intro. So then we jump into my intro to let you know. So this is the first time we hearing 3000 and Big Boy actually rhyme. What did y'all think about this song, re-listening to it?
Dre's delivery it's ridiculous, man. So obviously jumping off, it was like, no wonder he's a top 5 MC of all time, or at least one of my top 5 MCs of all time. So he like, all right, we here. South got something to say, so let's go. This is how we starting off our album, our debut album. Let's go.
What about you, Corb?
Man, I'm gonna probably rock the boat a little bit with this one, man. But I not only on this song, but I think on the whole album, man. I think Big Boy held it down. Not that Dre didn't, Well, man,
Right.
Big Boy kind of came in with the, at the time he was like classic ATL. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anybody who was down there at that time, if you wanted to know what the majority of the cats in ATL was like, Big Boy was it. So
Right.
I like how they always do their thing, man. They had I think they had a great mix on how they held it down on their albums. You know what I'm saying? It was almost like, most times, Big Boy would open it up and then Dre would come close.
Mhm.
But because Dre was closing, a lot of people kind of forget about, what Big Boy was putting down in the beginning.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna bring that up later, but we can talk about it now. The fact that in a lot of groups, it's always the lead guy, the guy that's the dope one, and then it's the other dude that he's all right sometimes. Like it
Right.
got to a point where when everybody was recognizing 3000, probably like around Equimini stage, where like, yo, this dude top 5 of all time, he's a beast. I think people started to not disrespect Big Boy, but yeah, flat out, people started to
Yeah.
disrespect Big
Yeah.
Boy like he wasn't bringing it too. People try to treat him like Vinny from Naughty by Nature. Like, yo, like he's not a hype man. This dude is a true MC. And on this album, for sure, like on Equimini, yeah, 3000 is a superior rapper. But on this one, I think they neck and neck, to be perfectly honest,
Yeah.
especially listening to it
Because
again.
they're always competing. From one verse to the next. So Dre go off and snap. Big Boy come right back with it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be remiss not to mention the production, and you're gonna hear that out of my mouth a lot on this. I mean, it's so loud, but everything is so clear.
top to bottom, man.
It's so clear, and it transitions into each and every song so smooth. So then we got at my back in '94. This was my favorite song. Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. That used to
Yeah.
be my shit. I used to bang that every single day. I used to love that song. I still love it. It's not my favorite song on the album anymore, but that used to be my shit.
And I just listened to like 10 minutes ago, and I was like, I think I had to change my mind on what I think is the best song on the album, because it's between. We probably get into it later, but it's between this and the title track. So I was like, I'm digging this one. But now let me go back to my other one. I mean, ask me tomorrow, I'm gonna change my mind. You know what I'm saying? So
Ain't no thing, the chorus, the hook on there.
oh
That it's I mean, they all of the hooks on the entire album are dope, but for some reason, man, that one just seems like it just stands out.
Yeah, man, and I, like I said again, production. I'm not even sure if that's a sample that they use. I don't have a clue, because when we're talking about, I hate to keep shitting on the Mace album, but I will. Last week we was listening to it, like the samples that were used on there. Obviously, the Bad Boy formula was to like use popular songs from the '80s and make them into hit records of the '90s and everything like that. And they weren't really samples; they were just basically recreations. But what Organized Noise was doing was taking a small piece, which was truly sampling a piece of music, and then making it their own. And it just worked to perfection, man.
Yeah, they start using the live instruments, get that midline bass line going, 808s. Yeah.
Crazy. So we can jump into an interlude. Now I will say this. That's something that's subpar that they get a lot better at in further albums is interludes. The interludes, especially now, especially after I listened to the Dr. Dre and the Biggie, like the interludes on there are just way more creative. The interludes on here ain't so creative. But this one in particular is a good one. The Welcome to Atlanta interlude, talking about all the landmarks in Atlanta, then pointing out the hoods in Atlanta, talking about the different gangs in Atlanta, talking about the Confederate battle flag hanging over the dome down there still. So at that time, man, like it's truly an introduction to a world that we don't know. Well, I didn't know anything about.
Not coming
I
from
think
Ohio, you don't know none of that, man. So,
Right.
and I mean, it's crazy to think about it now. Just listening to it puts you on that flight. Everybody want to take a flight right about now. All you got to do is turn that interlude on, sit back, be right there on the flight. Get you some tunes, man, some good tunes.
Facts.
That's interesting. You talk about that interlude in that way, because living down there at the time, that interlude was super dope to us, but it was probably because we knew everything that they was talking about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that kind of goes back to like what you were saying about them kind of putting ATL on the map at that time. You know what I mean? It's different because, I guess I use the term outsiders. Outsiders look at it differently, especially then. Now everybody be in Atlanta. So,
yeah.
If you were to recreate that interlude and start naming off stuff, everybody would know exactly what it is. But back then they didn't.
At all. So then we go into the title track / second single, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Great video, great from top to bottom. And like that's the song that proved that they weren't a one-hit wonder, because that's what you need, especially in the 90s. You need a follow-up single, and they followed it up with another classic single.
100%, man. So it's one of my favorites. As we go down the track list, it may change again, but it's definitely one of my favorites, man. Just the intro on it, just the and they just go ahead and spit like 10 seconds in. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna start the track again. I just love that intro. So
well, it's the MR crooked. Yeah. I
did that
on that. Go ahead.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
I was saying I had to do my Googles on that, because for the longest time I didn't know that they had another name besides Outkast. I guess they were going to go by the Misfits, and that's what he was about to spell out. But I just thought it was about to spell out Mister or something like that. So I never knew that until way long time ago.
Wasn't the rumor a long time ago that it was supposed to be more of them in the group when they first started?
Was it?
I didn't heard that one.
Thought so.
Tell us.
So I thought the rumor that it was supposed to be them two and CeeLo, and then CeeLo ended up going with Goody Mo B for some reason.
Oh man.
I don't know how much truth there is to that, or how much information there is out there, but I thought that was the rumor a long time ago.
I'm glad it didn't turn out that way.
So. Yeah.
Hey, but this track, man, much like some of the other tracks on their other albums, I think it was the first one to show how they kind of utilized a lot of the funkadelic characteristics in their music. You know what I'm saying? That whole, the whole hook on there is just that Southern Playalistic. If you go back and listen to a lot of the funk music, that's exactly what it sounds like. You know what I'm saying? And my only reason I'm hip to that game for real is because Moms is a huge funk fan, and she worked for George Clinton for a super long time. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear some of their music, I hear George in the Parliament singing.
Yeah, man, that's a good point. And at this time they are bringing that Mac, that pimp, that player, diamond in the back. Like they're bringing that to the forefront. And something Outkast does is they recreate themselves on every album. No album sounds like the last album. Like you know exactly what you're gonna get when you buy a Too Short album. You know exactly what you're gonna get when you buy an EPMD album. You have no clue what you're gonna get when you buy an Outkast album, because I will be the first to admit, when AT Aliens came out, I hated it. Because it was because it wasn't like this. Because it wasn't Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. It was so different that I listened to it a couple times and then just was like, nope, I don't like it. And for years,
Wow. Wow.
I'm talking like at least 5-10 years. I just like, nah, I'm not listening to that. I didn't even. I promise, I probably didn't listen to it again, like all the way through, until after Aquemini came out. Because I was like, well, this is dope. Then how come the second album ain't any good? I went back and listened to it and felt so stupid. Like I just didn't give it a chance. So yeah, that's where I was at with it. I was so mad because this album is so great. And I just wanted them just give me exactly what you gave me last time and just do it again. And I didn't get that. But that's something about Outkast which makes them so great, man. They recreate themselves every single album and they make hit records and not just hit singles, they make hit albums.
Right. And after Southern Playalistic came out, you know, they were on different soundtracks, you know what I'm saying? And plus you had Soul Food after that. So there's a lot of, I mean, there's a 2-year gap, but there's a ton of growth in between albums, you know. So, and even on this album, each track is totally different from the next, even though Organized, you know, produced the entire album, it's still each track different. It's still dope, you know. So
yeah, so now we got Call It a Wild. Now, this is one that goes back and forth with me. Call It a Wild, I remember I used to love this song. But now I teeter a little bit. I'm like, it's still cool, but Timo verse is just not hitting for me anymore. It just don't hit for me no more. And it's like, what is it, like 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes? Maybe like that's
too
the
long.
radio. Maybe that's the radio guy in me that's saying, oh man, that cut the song short and I would like it more. It's still a dope song because it's the first time we actually getting a chance to hear CeeLo and Timo. So basically our first time getting to hear Goody Mob on a song. But like as much as I loved it then, I don't love it like that no more.
Yeah, it's a cool tune. You know, it's the first intro to hearing CeeLo sing on a song.
You don't sound pleased.
It's cool. It's cool. You know? I mean, I'm able to recognize, you know, when Outkast don't do quality stuff. You know, they set the bar so high. You know, there's some other albums out there we won't mention.
I like the hook.
But
I
you
just
know,
don't like
it's cool.
On it. I just don't like Timo verse. If they did chopped his verse off, we'd have been cool. Where would you at with it, Corb?
Man, you know, probably the only is 2 songs, and I'll wait till we get to them because you asked us about which I know you do your thing about which songs should or should not be on there.
Yeah.
You're on the album to make the album better. So I'll wait until you ask us that question. But this is one of 2.
Yes.
That if I had to choose right now, I'm a firm believer that Outkast don't make whack songs, period. Right.
Okay.
But I want to answer your questions and not just be like every Outkast song is a banger. Right. So since I have to choose, you know, to answer the question, you know, this is, you know, one of my options for if I had to drop a song off of the album, this would be one. Once you ask the question, then I'll reveal the other one. But again, you know, it's tough when, you know, you look at the track list on this, man, you know, almost all of them are bangers.
Yeah.
You know, almost all, in my eyes, with the exception of the 2 that I'm gonna say, one of them could have fell off, and the rest of them could have been singles easily. You know, they could have all got put out in my eyes. So, you know, when you put out a song like this one, not that is whack. It's just not a classic. Like, you know, especially when it's sandwiched between Southern Playalistic and Players Ball.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's a very good point. That's a very good
point.
It's
a bad arrangement, you know. So
yeah.
That's what's going
maybe if you put that song first, you know, maybe if you had that song first, it might not have been as bad. But that's one of the 2. I'll wait till we get to that question.
So we talked a little bit about it already. Players Ball, their first single. It was on the LaFace Christmas album. The video is an intro to Atlanta. You know, they in the kitchen. They talking that talking slang I've never heard before a day in my life. You know, dudes got braids. It's like this, not the braids like we see Snoop with. You know, Snoop had the pretty boy braids. They had the dirty nigga braids. like like the joints that curl up at the end
they
and
kicked in, they
in the
in the
fuzz and shit. Like, yo, this is some country shit that we looking at right now. But
Hey, ain't no.
Go ahead.
I was about to say they wasn't flat ironing their hair before braided. They was just braiding it and putting
Yeah.
rubber bands on the end, and that was it.
Yeah, it was like their braids were out of necessity and Snoop's was out of style. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, this is some country shit. And like, you know, you seeing like you see the Atlanta Braves jersey in the video that 3000 rocking, like, so it's just like it's taking you there. And the Players Ball is exactly that, man. The video is A1, production A1, the song is A1. And I started thinking to myself, like, what's another actual great hip hop Christmas song? Because we can say Christmas in Hollis, but this is better than Christmas in Hollis. This is crushing.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, that's all we knew. That's the only other Christmas song I knew growing up is, Christmas in Hollis. That's it. So then you put on Players Ball, man, the video stands out in my mind all day, So growing up, the Braves jersey. Those are the first dudes that hit me to the Braves, man. I was a huge Braves fan growing up because of Outkast, Got the jersey. I still got it upstairs in the attic, Then they had I had to get the Atlanta, the white hat with the blue brim. Had to get that. So then, another memory that kind of stands out, man. Me and my homeboys from high school. My pops got a pool table downstairs, right? We taking off our shirts, got the pool stick, got, Outkast bumping in the back, so just trying to kind of emulate their styles, crazy, man.
For
crazy.
sure.
Great memories to this song, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. So then we got Claiming True. Now, I want to say, all right, on the first 7 tracks, we getting Outkast, we getting the bravado, we getting what they want us to know about them. We're getting the Playalistic, the Cadillacs. We're getting all that. This is the first time we actually get to know Andre and Antoine, because Big Boy's talking about his pops not being around. 3000 talking about disappointing his mom, dropping out of school. Like, yo, he could have been so many great things, but you decided to drop out and become a musician. I'm so disappointed in you. And on Claiming True, like, we get to see them as people as opposed to just being rappers.
Yeah, I think they've always done a good job when they start speaking on that. I think they've always done an awesome job of, dropping some real life into their music. They don't do it on every song, that's for sure. But when they drop it, if you're really listening to their lyrics, it's hitting. You know what I'm saying? They always do that every once in a while. Every song, every song has at least one song where they give you some real life truth. I think on this album that was it.
I think it's important for artists to do that because it's cool to look at somebody and look at all the cool things they do, the jewels and the girls and all the stuff that rap life brings. But like, this gives you an insight, like, yo, everything ain't peachy and cream. So these songs like this are definitely needed.
Yeah, because just going back listening to this album, man, I didn't really realize how much, dropping out of school, disappointment was going on in the album. They were already teenagers, but they were going a different direction. And obviously they were talking about everything that was going on at that, that time, going through school, going through high school, so I was like, oh man, that's pretty slick. So
definitely needed. So then we got another sketch or interlude or whatever. Donkey Ass basically is the intro to strip club life. And what we know Atlanta, what we all know Atlanta for now this is the intro. This is letting everybody know this is where you want to come to if you want to see some real strip club shit. And then
take
that
you to Magic City, boy.
Big fact. Strokers on lane. Never forget that.
Hey, listen, you got to edit that out because I still be telling my wife that Magic City is actual magic.
Oh, man. So that leads us into Funky Ride. Now, back in the day, this was a skipper for me. But my homeboy, whenever we ride, he play it. I know now. I know now. But back then I did not know. But I know now. And not only that do I know that now, but this also, they gave up a entire song on their debut album to Sleepy Brown, basically. Like this whole song is singing, and they gave up a track on their album to showcase one of their homeboys in their crew. Not a feature, not like, oh man, you can sing the hook like you did on Players Ball. You can get a verse. The entire song. Here, you can have it. Like, that's to be commended.
Hey, this one could go on repeat for me, man.
Oh, today for sure.
This is, this one right here, man. I can be on some old man, with my headphones on, with a glass of whiskey next to me, and the kids can be right in, man. The kids can be right in front of me wilding out. But if I got the headphones on and that funky ride going, I'm just chilling. And then what I love about Outkast, what they've always done, every single album, they always got a slow groove, slower tempo, and they ain't not like R&B, but just a, slow, groovy little tempo that they do their thing to that it's just perfect for you to kind of just basically just sit there and just, it's perfect, Georgia music to sit on the front porch, man, and relax and enjoy the outside.
Left field question: Funky Ride or Sporty Odie Dopalicious?
Sporty.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure. All day on that one.
Yeah,
get them horns on that one.
Yeah.
We.
And the story I was tell on there is crazy. So then yeah, that's classic right there. But like we said, man, eyes noise with the production, man. So then we go into another interlude. Now this interlude is like beyond straightforward. It is the interlude to, in my opinion, now the best song on the album. Get Up, Get Out with Goody Mob. I'm going to say this is my favorite song on here now, even though it's like 8 minutes long. Even though we got like, 6 verses on here. And
yeah, it's long.
As I listen to this song, all I think about is Keenan Ivory Wayans and Don't Be a Menace. Message, like, it is over the head with a message, but it's still dope. It's still a dope record. And where was y'all at with it?
Get Up and Get Out is nasty.
I don't recall ever graduating at all.
Man, it's worth the whole 7-8 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
on repeat too.
That's why I got difficulties with Call It a While, because they're about the same length, but quality wise of song, they're just like not even equal anymore. Like back in the day, I used to love Call It a While, and I liked Get Up and Get Out, but like now, this song is magic.
It's got all the heat. Everybody stepped up on this song too. There's really no whack verse on this song at all. The best verse.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Who's the best verse?
It's between 3 Stacks and CeeLo. I mean, as soon as I heard CeeLo, yeah, for me, yeah, for sure. But it's gonna be 3 Stacks for sure.
Okay. What about you?
Yo, I ain't even gonna lie, man. I got to keep it real, man. I got to keep it real, and I even wrote it down. I got to give it to CeeLo, man, on this
I feel you.
track.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
gotta
That's fine.
I
Yeah.
gotta give it to CeeLo on the track, man. And but the fact that he sang the hook also, it just gave him so much quote unquote playing time on the song that it's like you can't think of this song and not think about everything CeeLo did. So not only did he sing the
Mhm.
hook, but then he also had the opening verse and killed it on the opening verse.
Yeah,
So yeah, he snuck in and got MVP on this song to me, man.
Yeah.
Even though everybody else hold it down,
yeah,
because as you listening to the song, you almost forget, like, as soon as somebody get done, you be like, after you listen to it when you haven't heard it in a while, you kind of think, oh yeah, the song's great, go off, and then another verse drop,
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, he hit it, and then oh now it's going off, then another verse hit. So
Mhm.
what about you? What about you, Kev? You
don't do this
Let's
to me.
go. Mm,
So
mm.
I'll rewind. Back in the day, I gave it the big gift for sure because he
Really?
had that
Mm.
line. Got the whole country thinking my city is the big lick for
Lick for
96.
96.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I think about that song, that's the first line that comes to my mind.
Mhm.
But on the rewind listening to this, I'm like, it's still a dope verse, but it's not the best verse. It's not. It's just got a dope line. It's something you remember. Obviously, Olympics, talking about the games, the Red Dogs, and all that. I was like, that's just, it got flair. But like, best verse, I go back and forth. Is it 3000? Is it CeeLo?
No. Yeah.
And I gotta go. I gotta go with 3000 by this much, dog. By this much.
For the W. Never smell the
I
aroma
listen.
of diploma.
That's what I'm saying, because you know why? Because everything he's talking about, he talks about on Claiming True in this song. Like everything he
Mhm.
said on there, he says on this song and says it even better. But the way CeeLo opens it up is so dope. So
Yeah.
I'll give it to 3000 just by hair. But those verses on there, like I always like try to post up on my IG or what I think is a flawless verse. And like Biggie's always on there. Shoot, Pusha T, one of my favorite dudes from the Clips, he's got a couple flawless verses. But I can honestly say 3 out of these 4 verses are flawless. CeeLo's is
Yeah.
flawless, and Big Boy's is flawless as well. And obviously
Okay.
3000 is flawless. It just Gibbs used to be just because that 96 line was just so crazy to me. But it's a lot of flawless bars on there, man. And something else, this was a third single. This is the third single. And the length of time between the first single, Southern Playalistic, I mean, not Southern Playalistic, Players Ball,
Play
that
the
single
ball.
dropped in November of 93. They rolled this all the way out until the third single came out in October of 94.
We.
So
That's unheard of these days.
yeah, like so I'm honestly surprised, like you said, Corb, so many other songs could have been a single. I'm surprised they even picked this for a single, to be perfectly honest. But you gotta think they're gearing up for Goody Mob to drop their album Soul Food, so they gotta push them out there. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was a get up and get out or call it a while. Maybe that's what they were looking at to say, like, what should be the next single. I'm glad they went with Get Up and Get Out. That shit classic hip hop right there.
Mm-hmm.
So then we transitioned into True That, the another spoken word situation from Outkast. You always get one of those, something introspective.
Big
Uh,
Rube. Big
They
Rube.
were giving knowledge, giving you what Outkast is. And at the time, it was a skip because I don't need to hear this. I just want to hear the songs. But like now, I don't need to hear you talking to me, man. I just want to hear the music. But now it's dope. It's dope to hear stuff like that.
Yeah, it's beyond dope. I'd say this is probably what made me probably the biggest Outkast fan ever because of this. Because you got to remember, I'm 12 years old. I'm coming straight from Trotwood, right? Parents up to move me down to Westchester.
Moving up.
Trotwood, Westchester. Okay, so you put this album on me, I hear this interlude, Outkast. So unreal, unreal.
Big Rube's delivery is insane. From what he's saying to how he says it, it's always you just can't lose. You can't lose, man.
Hoes, you a motherfucking fool.
Yeah, man. We needed like a whole Big Rube album, man.
That'd have been
I don't
dope.
know. I don't know why that hasn't happened.
I mean, now's the time for something like that, man. You know, especially like nowadays, it's not all about unit sales and how much you can sell. It's about, streaming. Everybody has Apple, Spotify, you know what I'm saying? It don't take nothing to upload something on Spotify for somebody to check it out. So you're right. We could use that, man. So
Man, you could. I was gonna say, man, you could very easily have a Big Rube album, and all he got to do is just have, some of these more well-known R&B artists. They ain't even got to be well-known for real. All he need to just have is a R&B artist sing hooks in between him dropping lines.
Jilly from Philly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, it's iconic for me because he's like, you're looked at differently. You're not considered to be part of the normal world. He's not accepted because of his occupation, his beliefs, his skin color. Now look at yourself. Are you an outcast? I know I am. Matter of fact, fuck being anything else. So right there, I'm good now, especially in the element where I was at, age, growing up teenager, being around everybody that don't look like me, coming from Trotwood, I'm like, okay, bet. I'm rocking with Outkast. That's who I am. I'm gonna act differently because I'm a roll with it. So
yeah. So then we going to track 14, Crumbling Herb. This was a skip for me. I mean, it's just I mean, it's cool still. I mean, it's the same message that we've been getting for decades upon decades. Roll up something and chill instead of killing each other. We can all get behind that, I'm sure. But at the time, I was just like, whatever. It's just another song. Whatever. It really wasn't hitting for me.
Because you want crumbling no herb, that's why.
That is also true. That is also. Where was you at with it, Corb?
It's not necessarily a skip. It's it's a laid back tune, so got a little message in it,
Message. Yeah.
Hey, this is another one of those, kind of chill type tempo songs that, you can just let it ride. Like same thing, man. It kind of gives me the same vibes that what's the one we was just talking about earlier?
Funky Ride.
Funky Ride, yeah. It gives me the same vibes as Funky Ride. I could listen to they could put all of them type of songs like that: Funky Ride, Spodiote, Dopalicious, Crumbling Herb, Prototype, Liberation.
Yeah.
I could listen to all of them joints back to back. You know what I'm saying? You could pretty much slide all of them together. You might even could slide I Like the Way You Move on that album too. They could all be one album for me, and I listen to all of them.
Check out Corb's playlist of Outkast.
Right.
So then we going into Hootie Hoo. Now, before I would say probably not even until my sophomore year at Wright State. It wasn't until then I knew exactly what Hootie Hoo was representing. I always thought Hootie Hoo was just like the call for the crew. I didn't know that was just the rolling papers that they was using, or a code name for the White Owls that they was using to smoke with. Didn't know that. Didn't know that for years. So this is 94. So shit, I ain't figured that out like 5-6 years. Hence the reason I probably didn't like Crumbling Herb.
Exactly.
No clue. No clue at all.
Hey man, that transition from Crumbling Herb into Hootie Hoo, I love that.
Yeah. Makes
I
sense.
love that. That, song titles, yeah, but then as soon as Crumbling Herb is ending, it kind of has that little
Yeah.
you still kind of got the drums from Crumbling Herb going on, and then that Hootie Hoo comes right in, man. I love that. I love that.
With it, Peanut?
What's that now?
Where was you at with it?
Oh man. So just thinking about this. It's kind of like a intro to the storytelling of the ladies. And actually going back and listening to it, then you get the art of storytelling 1, 2, 4. Yeah. So that's kind of like on par with me when I listen to Hootie Hoo, and they just kind of going back and forth. The lyrics is just straight spitting. So
another 4-verse song too, man. So now we go into Deep. Yeah. Good record, but this is where I'm like a little confused. I mean, the subject matter, but okay, let me rewind. The Greetings Earthling part still puzzles me to this day. I don't understand why it's there. The song is dope. The content that Andre is talking about is what we're going to see much later on, even more on a bigger stage about, he wearing fake gold. He can't afford Jordans. He don't eat pork. He don't eat beef. He a vegetarian. Like all these things, like super early. Like, I probably didn't even listen to this song. But like this song, especially with the intro to the song, I thought should have been on AT Aliens. I think the subject matter flows better on AT Aliens than it does on this album. Like it just seems out of left field for me. It's still a great song because 3000 is just a phenomenal MC. But just for me, I just don't think it fits with Southern Playalistic Cadillac music.
Man, I think at the time. Go ahead, BJ.
No, yeah. So, I mean, it was always a skipper for me. It really was. So, because every time I hear Greetings Earthlings, I'm like, okay, I want to go listen to Two Dope Boys. You know what I'm saying? That's a classic track off the next album. So
right.
Yeah. So whenever I hear this song, even to this day, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm waiting to hear Two Dope Boys as soon as they, Greetings Earthlings, but it's I mean, I know you want to get to what's your worst track or skip it. Yeah, this would be the one. This would be the one. And that's the only reason why. I mean, it's a dope cut, but that's the only reason why.
See, at the time, man, when it came out, you didn't have the AT Aliens album to compare it to.
Right.
True. So at the time, it kind of fell in line with everything else, Now looking back at it in hindsight, I agree with what y'all were saying as far as, it seemed like it could have been a better fit on that following album. But, to me, it kind of just made me think about where were they really at the time in terms of the next album coming out, if this one fits so well into, how the next album played out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Was they already on some AT Alien? They kind of letting you know already they were, so it kind of makes you wonder, like, man, was album number 2 already pretty much ready to go then, or what?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Point. To me, like, just thinking back and kind of doing a little bit of research, it felt kind of like a demo track for some reason, because they made albums differently back then, because you had Players Ball. Okay, Players Ball led into the whole album of Southern Playalistic, so they had a gang of time to compile a bunch of songs for the actual album. So I'm thinking it obviously may not be true, but Deep may have been just kind of like an intro cut or a demo cut that they just, oh, let's go ahead and throw on there real quick, So I don't know.
My question for you, Peanut, is like, all right, on Aquemini, South Savannah, that was originally recorded for this album, right?
West Savannah.
West Savannah.
West Savannah. Yeah, West Savannah was originally supposed to be on this album, and I don't think West Savannah fits on this album.
Really? I would change it. I would put it in place of Deep. I think it would flow perfectly. What album would you put it on?
I mean, it could stay there, but I don't even think. To me, it don't fit. I could be wrong. I mean, I'll go back and listen to it again, but I still don't think West Savannah fits just to the flow of the album. It definitely don't fit on Aquemini, but
right. That's what I'm saying. Like that stands. It's a great song, but it just stands out. So and them saying like we recorded this for Southern Playalistic. I would just when I would listen to this again, I was like, well, you just take Deep out, you plug in Savannah, you put Deep on the air, and you just Aquemini just one track short.
But if you put West Savannah on it, would it be a track you skip?
Maybe.
So don't necessarily.
Maybe. Possibly. So then we close it out with Players Ball, the basically just the hook again. I don't even know why they used to do this back in the days. Like a lot of albums did that. Like they would have the lead single close out the album. I have no idea why they did that. Do y'all?
Not a clue.
It was a great record. So it was just a extra shine that Sleepy could get.
Right. Absolutely. So
I'm cool with it.
The question for y'all, man, what song? I think we just answered it basically. What song was your favorite song on the album? Definitively.
Get up, get out. Definitively. What's today? It's Sunday, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna hold y'all to this to the end of times. This is for the record.
Get up, get out.
Agreed. I agree. That's my favorite joint.
He's like,
That's not my favorite. My personal favorite.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is Hootie Hoo.
Ooh.
Oh, word?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My personal favorite is Hootie Hoo.
Did not
expect it. It's speaking on some things and you can relate to.
Man, listen, I can start the album off. I can skip straight to Hootie Hoo and then go back and listen to the whole album again.
That's dope.
Well, Hootie Hoo is definitely on repeat for me, no question. My son probably knows the words to Hootie Hoo by now since, I had this episode like, man, let me go back and listen, give it a good few listens. And Hootie Hoo was definitely on repeat.
All right, what's the track that y'all can live without or just y'all want to take off the entire album?
Just go ahead and take Deep off. It's good.
I would like to take Deep off because I just don't think it fits the album. But the bars is elite. For somebody to be talking that subject matter, especially in 1994, I think I have to keep it on there. Okay. So it is so crazy that I'm even saying this, man. But is Call It a Wild? It would either be Call It a Wild or Crumbling Herb for me. So since I still love the hook on Call It a Wild, I would get rid of Crumbling Herb.
Okay.
What about you, Corb?
Call It a Wild is gone.
He said that quick. He was like, I ain't even got to think about it. This shit died.
Is it because of the hook?
Call It a Wild is gone, man. It's just if I had to pick one, man, like I said, I personally wouldn't remove none of them. But if I had to pick one, there are only a couple of songs that I would even really remotely nitpick on. That's one of them. You know what I'm saying? The other one, this is so minor, but on Claim and True, the only thing I don't like about Claim and True is that sound effect they use where they sound like they, spitting down, they rapping down like a tube or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't like that. I don't think the song needed that effect. You know what I'm saying? Because the bars was hitting.
Yeah.
It didn't need any different type of special effect. That kind of sounded like one of those things where, the producer was probably in there like, hey man, listen, I can make y'all sound like this. And they was like, yeah, do that shit. That shit is dope.
In the dungeon. And I'm glad you brought it up, man. For me, the MVP of this album, hands down, is Organized Noise. As great as MCs as 3000 and Big Boy are, the production on this album is unbelievable. This is a debut album unlike anything you've ever heard before. This isn't something like, as much as I love Dr. Dre, we've heard other albums mimic what Dr. Dre did. You haven't heard another producer crew come up with sounds like this, make an album flow together like this. It not only does it flow together with rhymes by the rappers, but it flows together by the production. It takes you to a place we've never been before. They're the MVPs of this album by far, because you look at them being signed to LaFace, being the first hip hop group off LaFace. That's a blessing, because if they were signed, I said this on the Mobb Deep one, when they were signed to Loud Records, they just let them do them. And that's what L.A. Reid and Babyface did with Outkast and Organized Noise. They just do what y'all want to do, and then we'll put it out. If they would have had interference from the record labels, like, no, do this or do that, make me a song that sound like this, make me a radio song, make me a radio hit, who knows what we would have got. We just got dudes in there that went in there and made great music because that's how they felt. Like, we feel like making this album, Southernplayalisticadillacmuzik, and we going to put some great production behind y'all. Y'all already know y'all going to do great rhymes, and we going to put everything together for y'all. For me, MVP by far, Organized Noise.
You got Corb.
Man, I'm getting ready to rock the boat. I ain't even think about making the producers a MVP. I ain't even think about them, but maybe my rationale for why I did, keep in mind looking back at this in hindsight, man, I gave the MVP to Big Boy.
That is fast sax, like Cadillac.
I gave it to Daddy Fat Sax, man. You know what I'm saying? And part of the reason why, man, is because, from the very beginning, I felt like he's always held it down. You know what I'm saying? And I also think he's held it down throughout all of the following albums. And then, like you touched on earlier, man, about people hating on Dude, he has continued to drop albums that still got bangers. You know what I'm saying? And when I listen to those later albums, where his solo albums, where it's just him and his solo music, I think it kind of points out how much of an influence he actually had on Outkast and how much he produced. You know what I'm saying? Because really, all his later albums are missing is Dre dropping a verse in their Outkast albums. You know what I'm saying? I would really be curious what it would sound like if 3000 dropped an album. What would it really be like without Drake?
It'll be everything. It'll be a little bit of rock and roll, be a little bit of jazz, a little bit of hip hop,
especially now.
Yeah,
especially now. But I got to give it to Big Boy, man. I think Big Boy kept it 100% ATL at the time. He gave you that ATL flavor the whole time, man. That a lot of musical groups and rappers built themselves upon what Outkast was able to do. So
sure.
So, Kev, you got Organized. Corb, you got Big Boy, and nobody else left, right?
CeeLo.
What's going on? Right.
CeeLo left.
CeeLo got some features. He got hooks. He got bars. He got 2 hooks on here.
Yeah, to me, man, I just think this is Dre's album. Then I think ATLians is all Big Boy. Big Boy stepped up, oh man, ungodly on the next album. But I really think this is Dre's album. So for sure.
Okay. All right, last thing, man. So we'd be crazy not to talk about the Source Awards. I remember watching the Source Awards when Suge Knight went on stage, talked about Bad Boy, talked about Puff, all in the videos. Like, that's the most thing people talk about from that Source Awards. I remember actually falling asleep and setting my alarm to catch it because it came like on at like midnight or whatever. And I remember getting up and watching it with my brother. But the other thing that happened on there, Outkast won Best New Hip Hop Artist. And Outkast got booed in New York City. That tells you how far rap music has come, because they sounded different. They weren't like the guys from New York. They weren't like the guys from the West Coast. They were new. They were something that we never heard before. And now everybody sounds like they're from down south. The only people that don't sound like they from down south is TDE with Kendrick and them and J. Cole crew. Those are only guys that sound unique in today's hip hop scene. So for them to get booed on that Source Award stage, for Andre to say the South got something to say way back in 1994, and now the South is the dominant hip hop force, speaks volumes, man. They put the South on the map like Little Rock the Bangin'.
Hey, listen, man. Hey, growing up down south, dude, it's interesting to me how people look at hip hop, because I wasn't listening to New York music. So a lot of stuff that cats identify as classics, they're not classics to me, man. Some of that, I know, man, this people gonna probably beat this up, man, but some of that early Nas, early Jay-Z, that wasn't my style of music, man. I was down south, dog. Man, yeah, hey, I'm not saying that they wasn't playing it, but like you said, man, that was the times of Freaknik. We was listening to the booty music, and UGK was out back then, and 8Ball and MJG. Them was the cats I was listening to, man. They got started over there in Nolens. 400 Degrees wasn't too long after that. And then other than that, I probably skipped to the West Coast. You know what I'm saying?
Something about Outkast that was different from UGK, Scarface, and everybody is they were able to cross over to the mainstream and have radio songs without trying, without saying like, all right, we're going to make a radio song. Like, these weren't intended to be radio records. They like were truly themselves. And like, that's what the big difference is between 8Ball and MJG, UGK, Ghetto Boys, Luke, if you want. Like, but Outkast was able to break through. They were the artists that were from down south that was able to break through to New York, to everywhere else, because they sounded so unique, and it was some music you couldn't deny. Like, you could always deny 8Ball and MJG or UGK, just like, oh, they just some country bumpkins or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Listen to what they talking about. All they doing is talking about pimping and all that. But like what Outkast was talking about, as we just lived through for this whole week, wasn't just slamming Cadillac doors, pimping and macking. You know what I'm saying? You got your get up and get outs. You got your funky rides. You got your crumble and herb. You got your deeps. You like got so much versatility out of this album, and it all flowed together. So it was undeniable that they was the group to break through to put the South on the map.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Give him the other half of Mike, man. I know it don't mean nothing nowadays, but give me that other half of Mike, because that Southernplayalistic was a classic.
Talk about that though. Talk about the importance of back in the days. Talk about the importance of back in the days of getting a 5 mic in the Source, because like that's how we bought albums. We would go to the Source, look, 5 mics, I'm buying it, because they word is the gospel.
Yep, it was either it was local to you, so you had heard it, or you saw that it was 5 mics in the Source, so it was like, I gotta go grab this. because it's a banger. If something was less than 4 mics, it was getting nothing.
I was putting up hip hop quotables in my room. You know, I had to go get the album too, go along with the quotables. So I had the Mobb Deep. You know, I had the Wu-Tang. You know, Method Man, obviously Outkast. So if it was even a quotable or a 5 mic, I'm grabbing it. So.
The Source Mag, man. Well, shoot, obviously, I think it's universal. All three of us believe this album stands the test of time.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Yeah, man. I'm going to say this was one of the more easy listens I had and surprising because, like I said, when we started, man, I was nervous going into it, man, because coming off that Mace Harlem World, I was like, man, we can't go back to back. Can't go back to back. Ruin my memories here.
I know your ears hurt after that.
Did you listen to it? Go ahead and listen to it. Go give it a once over.
Nope. I'm good.
I still got that CD upstairs in my book that I used to have in that beat up Grand Am I had at Wright State.
Go ahead, give it a once over, man. Do yourself justice, man.
That's not gonna happen, man. I'll give a shout out to AP, man. We was first concert together with Outkast, me and AP. So
nice.
Shout out to him. Yep.
Dope.
I'd like to omit that shout out because AP was a huge Mace fan.
Hey, I would tell y'all, like I told him, the only reason I listened to it again because this was before we even started doing the pod, man. Him and I were talking about music or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm bumping that Mace." I was like, "Mace, what?" It was Harlem World. He's like, "It's a classic." I was like, "Classic?" And I was like, "All
classic
right, man."
Trash.
Then I was like, I told him we was gonna jump on the pod, and y'all should have seen his face before we hit record. Like, yo, it didn't stand the test of time. Nostalgia,
that's funny, man.
Nostalgia, man. But hey, fellas, appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all jumping on, man. Had to get the boy from down in the ATL and the boy that represents Outkast to the fullest, man. So I appreciate y'all for jumping on the Rewind podcast. I'm gonna get at y'all again for another one, man. Y'all cool with that?
Sure. Yeah,
all
definitely.
All right, fellas. Peace.
All right, see you.